Dr. Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You know I blame it on industry. I blame it on my own hypocrisy. Miseducation and politicians. No one's willing to step up and speak.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the award-winning Pace Radio Show. We are live, and we are coming to you from lifestyleradio.net, and as well from the front window of Canna Days in here in downtown Campbellford, Ontario. I'm your host, Al Graham. Tonight, I am joined by my joint host, Alicia Doukhobor, and our guest tonight is a man who has fought the law, and because of him, people have access to cannabis medicine here in Canada. But before we find out more, it's time for Alicia and I to have our usual gab. Hello, Alicia. How are we tonight?
Oh, I am just excellent. How are you?
Roasting.
What?
It's warm
Roasting.
here in Ontario. How's the, like 35 with humidity's over 40, 45 degrees. What's it like there?
Oh, geez. Well, we've been getting some rain, but I guess according to the farmers, it's much needed. So I'm okay with that.
It'll be the same boat here. The farmers we need it too, because it's just so hot. The ground's just drying right up. So, yes. And so, what's new and exciting in your world? Who are you taking? I like to get caught up on who you're taking to court. Or what's the latest court case you're doing?
My latest court case.
Yeah,
is
I saw
that
you post something there today. Go ahead.
So basically what I'm testing is do you have a constitutional right not to be sexually harassed or discriminated when you get pulled over by the RCMP? Because I had a situation in which I had an RCMP officer shoving his head into my window to read me the specifics of the ticket in order to try and smell marijuana because I have stickers on my dash of marijuana leaves.
Oh.
Yeah. So he was trying to smell and see if I had any marijuana in the vehicle, and of course I didn't, but nonetheless he was inappropriate in his delivery of trying to smell my car.
Yeah. He obviously, if he's getting basically right in your car, he's really fishing pretty deep.
Oh, for sure. And the thing is that he was male and I'm female, and he was in my personal space, and I believe that I have a constitutional right not to have a man up in my grill without permission. I don't think that that's too much to ask.
No, it's not. It's not. Well, good luck.
Thanks.
And you keep us updated on that as time goes on. Okay, now as far as news in the cannabis and things here in Ontario, I see the new provincial government of Doug Ford has abruptly put a hold on the new regulations that for the cannabis regulations for vape lounges and vaping and the smoking of cannabis and stuff. Bill 174, they put that on hold.
Why do you think?
Well, I know there's things in there that they didn't like. There's some things in there that are completely unenforceable. And now we will see what we had the Liberals' version of what cannabis was going to look like here in Ontario. And it appears that we are going to get a different version with Doug Ford and the Progressive Conservatives. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
so they put everything on pause.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So who knows? Maybe things will change here. Now, they just sort of talk about, about the vaping end of things. It doesn't necessarily say anything about as far as when it comes to retail and things. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to come out with private or private retailers. They're just talking right now about consumption by the looks of it. So we'll see what happens. Yes. Yeah. Maybe things, as some people will say, get a little better. And I'm sure we can ask our guest about that, too, when we get him on here. So go ahead. Oh,
for sure. Well, and I think that if they're stalling on that legislation, perhaps it was just a bunch of fluff in the first place, and maybe, it would be in the public's best interest to just leave it alone. Who knows, right?
We'll see. Yeah, I can't see them taking super long. Well, obviously they're going to have to get it out there before October the 17th, because I can't see the province not having any type of legislation. If he's put this on hold, we don't have any legislation on it. So he would have to come out with something before October 17th when it comes legal federally, wouldn't he? Or they would. Could they go on without any legislation here in Ontario?
I know. Was there any stipulations in the federal act that said that each province had to make their own legislation? I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. That part. I just know all provinces, the government had given it to them. But, what happens if they don't have something? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Who's going to enforce that, right? Is the federal government going to take a province to court indicating that they don't have legislation to enforce cannabis offenses? Okay. You know what I mean? So it could become a really weird climate, know?
Yeah, well, Doug's got he's got a majority government. He's got a large majority government, so it shouldn't take him much time to pass something. You get something through, so. See what happens. It'll be for news down the road, that's for sure. All right, and one last thing before we bring in our guest. I believe you probably wish to join me to say happy birthday to our American listeners. It's their 242nd birthday today.
Oh, wow.
July the 4th. Yeah, July the 4th. It is. Happy birthday to the U.S. So, see what happens. Okay. At this time, I'd like to welcome the person who I described as a person who has fought the law because of that. Patients around in Canada have access to cannabis medication. We'd like to welcome Terry Parker Jr. to the Pace Radio Show. Hello, Terry. How are you?
I think it's up, boss. How's it going?
Good. How's this weather treating you? Getting a little warm there?
Oh, just take it easy, chilling out, staying cool.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get out there exerting too much, because you'd be just as hot as I am here.
Yeah, here in Toronto, it's quite hot. It's what 34 today, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Before the humidex is put in there, so. All right, Terry, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hand the reins over to Alicia and let her get the questions going. All right, Alicia?
Sounds good.
All right, try her away.
All right, welcome, Terry. Thanks for coming on. I much appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no worries. So usually what I'll ask our guest is what their first experience with cannabis entails. So if you can take our listeners to the very first time that you came in contact with cannabis, what does that look like?
The first time I had a real experience with cannabis would be Christmas Eve 1972. I was about 16 then at the time. And
nice.
After that, I noticed that when I consumed cannabis, I would have a complete reduction in seizure disorder for epilepsy.
Okay. So when were you diagnosed with epilepsy?
Oh, I developed epilepsy back around the early 60s when I got hit by a swing back in 59 or 60 in McCormick's Park in Parkdale. That was a head injury, severe. Remember the old wood and steel swings they had when we were kids, a crossbar?
Huh.
Well, I got hit with one of those. That caused some major head injury. And a few months after that, I started developing these seizures over a period, and they put me on drugs which were not effective. Drugs like Dilantin was not effective. In fact, one of the average effects of Dilantin is seizures, but they kept on telling me to be a good patient, doctor knows best, and all that stuff. And the more I took these drugs, the more seizures I had. And over the course of treating my epilepsy in my younger years and teenage years, I was subject to highly top secret covert experiment at St. Kitts Hospital in Toronto, where I was subjected to unauthorized brain tissue removal, which is on my pathology report from sick kids. More disturbing is I have on my medical records a diagram of a left temporal lobe brain tissue, which is not mentioned on a pathology report, and representing someone else's brain tissue, not mine. When I look at my x-rays from Toronto General and St. Mike's Hospital, instead of seeing a hollow area indicating the brain tissue resections we see on the pathology report, I see brain tissue where brain tissue was resected, secured by 43 metallic implants which is evident on the x-rays in the cerebral cortex. The kicker is this. I've done some research on this left temporal lobe issue in my medical records. I've checked around with brain banks, what have you. They're not missing any brain tissue, but there's only one person on the planet whose left temporal lobe is unaccounted for, and that would be former U.S. President JFK. That is most profane, but also gives me insight why Hoffman was telling me I'd be world famous if I can get through the status epilepticus I was experiencing in the ICU right after the operation, December 9th, 1969. If you've done any research on cryogenics, there's been some reports over the years where they're freezing body parts and then revitalizing them afterwards, and then imposing them on research subjects, what have you. I have no doubt that in my situation, the left temporal lobe is JFK's, considering the memories or the dreams I've had consisting of his memories since 1969. Now, since that, I've had to fight 20 years for the courts to recognize marijuana for medical necessity. My first attempt was back in 1977. I had a lawyer who put forth defense of medical necessity. I got an absolute discharge. I was told to go get your Section 56 and get your marijuana that way. So in 1979, I spent 9 weeks at the Addiction Research Foundation to try to verify marijuana for epilepsy in order to get the exemptions, so I had to prove it. What's crazy here is that despite the title of the experiment, the effects of marijuana on seizure activity in man, not 1 gram of marijuana was investigated for 63 days of daily EEGs, blood work, urine work, EKG, ECG. I was more like a rat in a laboratory for 9 weeks. And all we did investigate was synthetic tetrahydro cannabinol delta 9, devoid of the anticonvulsant property, CBD. I was then and now still remain quite pissed off of all that work I put out to try to verify it, and they did not even investigate the anticonvulsant property of marijuana, which is cannabidiol CBD. Then after that, I was arrested back in 1986 for a few plants. Went to the court, put forth defense of medical necessity. The judge told the jury not to weigh defense of medical necessity. I ended up getting 60 days for that. That was 86. The same year, I got arrested for simple possession. And then on December 10th, 1987, before Justice Kenneth Langdon, I won my first acquittal for defense of medical necessity. So with that, and then back in 87, I had Justice Shapiro, Barry Shapiro. He upheld Kenneth Langdon's decision of defense of medical necessity. I thought that was fine. I thought it was okay to consume marijuana of medical necessity. No way. 1996, I got arrested again for cultivating 81 marijuana plants. That's where I came across Mr. Aaron Harnett, and he was able to get some funding through the DPA down in the States, and we put forth our Constitution Challenge in 1997, and on December 10th, 1997, Justice Patrick Sheppard he struck down our laws unconstitutional, and that by legalizing pot for medical necessity in this country. That was appealed in 2000, July 31st, Interior Court appeal. Katzman, Sharon, and Rosenberg upheld Langdon's decision, not Langdon, I should say Patrick Sheppard's decision. Since then, it's been out of the court on the issue of the doctor signing papers, won't sign papers, and the bottom line is I will not submit to another lobotomy in order to get my exemption. That's basically a nutshell of my history of cannabis activism in this province, this country.
Wow. And so in
2000,
I know, wow, hey, like in 2000, I guess what was kind of like the forerunner of the reason why you took it all the way and got the medical exemption? Is this because you were tired of obviously being prosecuted for cannabis, correct?
Oh, no kidding. I mean, I've done time as well. I've served in Mimico, Toronto West Detention. That's not a pretty sight for people with epilepsy, because if you have a seizure in the joint, that means you're going to be beaten by other inmates just for having a seizure. And that's happened a few occasions. So it's not humane, or I would consider ethical, to lock up people with epilepsy because they use marijuana. That's totally insane. But yeah, I've done my time. Sorry,
Terry. After all that, those court cases and stuff, from my understanding, like, even though you won that stuff and the medical program got started, you still did not have a license, or
no, I don't.
After all that, you're still not legal.
Yeah, but the reason being legal is that
that they look at it with the paperwork and so on and so forth.
Well, last time I saw a neurologist to get my paperwork done, he told me that he would rather do further brain surgery, and I said, no way, Jose. And I've been through it twice already. It's not effective for epilepsy, and they would rather rip my brains out rather than send a script up for cannabis.
Wow,
yeah.
And why is that, do you think? Is this the hypocrisy of the quackery? Is that?
Oh, it's probably the research money.
Oh.
But there's so much now when you're seeing, with the kids, the children and stuff, and the benefits. Even some of the states, recognize, cannabis use for epilepsy and stuff like that, and they still want you to go through a surgery. Branding.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't applied myself personally. I'm in. How can I put it? I mean, I'm shocked.
Why should you have to?
I'm shocked. It's repugnant on how our medical profession have been giving us a bowl of bullshit for God knows how many years, decades. Well, people are dying from cancer. We got a cure for cancer. We know THC kills cancer back in 1957. I mean, what kind of medical profession do we have? They're ignoring the qualities of cannabis for cancer, epilepsy, MSCP, old age, and all the rest of it. And yet they want to do unnecessary procedures like surgery and chemical research and all the rest of it. I mean, I've seen the horrors of prohibition abuse and all the rest of it. I remember the kids with cream incisions and all these parents not being informed of what's really going on when it comes to brain surgical research and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just profane. It's pathetic. It's just repugnant on how patients are being abused, insulted, mistreated, murdered, and all the rest of it, all because of prohibition, where substance saves lives.
Yeah. Alicia?
So I want to go back to when you were rated in 2000. You had mentioned, I thought that you said you had 81 plants, or was that in 1970?
That was 96.
Or that was 1986?
96,
Well, when you
I had a balcony.
Sorry?
It was 81 plants I got busted with.
Okay, and so in 2000, when you went to the Supreme Court, the police had raided you again, is that correct?
No, 2000, where they upheld Justice Sheppard's decision. We struck it down 97. We had our hearings in 99. The Crown appealed Patrick Sheppard's decision, and then 2000, July 31st, they upheld the Justice Sheppard's decision, striking it down unconstitutional. Now, the thing is, the government gave the court gave the government 1 year to remedy the situation. Then they came with the regulations, which remain unconstitutional. When the creators of our regulations did not ask the doctors first, it had to be a problem in signing or being a gatekeeper for Health Canada.
That's when they came out with the MMAR program?
I've not bothered. I just turned my whole back on the whole situation with getting an application, what have you, because I'm just too offended by the whole situation.
Yeah, I know. We've talked in the past. Hey, Alicia, keep going.
It's insulting. It's offensive. Here you got doctors put me through torture, and they fucked my life up greatly. And there is no accountability. There's no transparency. I got a patient advocate at Sick Kids Hospital telling me we have an ongoing problem. And Terry, you're encouraged to blow the whistle one because she can't do nothing in fear of losing her job. But it's just deplorable. I hear from a patient advocate at Sick Kids that you're a victim of criminal assault and battery, and that we have an ongoing problem. Please do what you can. There are more important things in life to get on top of besides marijuana consumers. If our cops had integrity or whatsoever, they'd be focused on Sick Kids Hospital, get a search warrant, pull up the records, get your tax, do whatever you got to do, inform the public, let the people know of this misrepresentation fraud going on at Sick Kids when it comes to covert human experimentation, particularly brain research. And it even makes me want to puke further when I hear the Liberal government, the previous Liberal government, wanted to put up more billions of dollars towards brain research. I say stick it up where the sun don't shine, man. Because until we have some sort of accountability, oversight on these top-secret programs, there should be no government or taxpayers' funds putting out brain research where you're ending up with approximately 3,000 deaths every goddamn year in this country due to status epilepticus. Status epilepticus is the number one adverse effect of brain surgical research, and we got about 3,000 a year due to status epilepticus. Myself, I would have been dead years ago if not for marijuana and intervening with helping with the seizures and all the rest of it. But also, since 1969, I've been putting up various episodes of cerebral hemorrhaging in the operative field. But to this date, there has been no informed consent. It took place at Kids Hospital. There's been no explanation. Why it's more scary when a patient advocate is saying we have an ongoing problem. God only knows what else is going on without parental consent or even knowledge. And that, to me, that's very, very disturbing. I despise child abuse. I despise anyone who harms a child, and particularly is just for profit.
Yeah,
and so
I agree.
You experienced all of these traumatic things as a result of your epilepsy as a child. And so now as an adult, you're saying that nothing has kind of gotten better. In fact, it almost seems as if it's gotten worse in terms of treatment.
Exactly.
And so you believe that if they were investing those dollars into cannabis research, that in fact we would have found a cure by now?
Oh, decades ago. Decades ago.
And so I guess at this point, what do you feel about like the LP system or market in terms of medical cannabis? Do you think that that's a slap in the face to your constitutional challenge, or do you just kind of it is what it is? How do you feel about that?
I feel if we're going to have let's reflect on what happened with the Parker decision in 2000. The Liberal government put out $5 billion towards prairie plant systems. And now they're owed about $50 million or plus, whatever, some ridiculous figure, for people who are not paying them for the swag they're putting out.
Yeah.
So I think if the government wants to get a tax base on this one, empower the free market, give it 12% sales tax, and let it just repeal prohibition, repeal it. Because if we don't repeal it, nothing's going to work. We look at more further constitutional challenge. We don't need more further court action on the issue. Just repeal it. Allow the free market to do what they're doing the past 80 years or so, and take care of the people. We don't need this corporate.
Sorry. In terms of legalization, I'm assuming that probably doesn't sit well with you. Then it just as a medical market kind of is a sham.
Anything that's government sanctified and it's got restricted and everything else, it's garbage. Who's going to pay for swag? Who's going to pay for leaf and stem and seed? That's why prairie plant systems or the government is owed millions of dollars because people are not paying for crap.
Oh, that was during the MMAR days, because they were sending out cannabis to patients, and they were sending it out before payment. And, yeah, there was patients who owed thousands of dollars to Health Canada. Yeah, I remember all that was going on.
So unless we satisfy consumer demand, the government's going to be in a losing position. If you don't satisfy consumer demand, they won't make any tax base off any kind of legalization unless they empower the free market.
Exactly. And so in terms of, I guess, the quality of products, do you foresee that the quality would be just as terrible as the LP? Well, I guess it is essentially the LP market that is purporting they'll provide for the rec market. How do you see that?
Well, if they're going to be hampering the THC levels and restricting that, then they're looking at losing bulk.
And repeal cannabis all these years instead of legalize.
Oh, for sure.
It's best to repeal and let the free market do their thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, well, go ahead. You got it.
In terms of the Liberal government and their monopoly that they've tried to create, do you think that would come, I guess, falling down once maybe a Conservative government took power? How do you feel about that, or is it that we're all kind of?
Is Scheer, what's his name? Andrew Scheer's name, his leader.
Yeah.
If he could seriously look at the history of what I've been through, many other millions of Canadians in the past 80 years have been through when it comes to marijuana and that, what he should do is agree to repeal prohibition and let the free market do their thing and just collect the 12% sales tax. I mean, there should be no criminal element to marijuana whatsoever. It should be like buying lettuce or tomatoes or corn or bread or whatever. Just a free market.
Well,
this way we can lower the incidence of cancer and everything else.
Right. The last thing I read on the PC's position was, well, I'm not going to say PC, just the Conservatives' position was, if they take over and it's an established business and it's up and operating, they will keep it going because they don't want to lose jobs and stuff like that. But if it's not established and not up and running, they won't say what it's going to be. So,
well, if the PC or none of the mainstream political parties can demonstrate compassion on this issue, then I think our best bet is to put more support behind the Marijuana Party of Canada. And that way we can look at having a more efficient and reliable supply, no complaints, and address the bigger issue when there's no accountability or transparency.
Okay, YouTube, it's break time.
Okay.
All right. Tonight, our bumper music featured is from Il Scarlet. And Terry, I line up the music with our guest, and tonight our song is called Justice. Something you've been fighting for a long time, in more ways than one. And then when we return, we'll continue our discussion with Terry Parker. This is the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at Lifestyle Radio.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Power to the people, every soul is equal. Overcome the systems and rise above the evil. The poor keep getting stronger and the rich can't feed.
Canada, the time to act is now. These days, your customers are seeking variety. Increase your earning potential by expanding your inventory with CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. CC Nexus stocks over 60 reputable breeders, including Canuck seeds, with a wealth of autoflower, regular, feminized, and CBD strains. All first-time customers will receive a free pack of Canuck seeds, plus a mug, t-shirt, and additional promotional materials. add strains, and increase your profit with CC Nexus, your Canadian-owned and operated wholesaler of cannabis seeds. Discreet, worldwide stealth shipping from Canada, supporting you locally. Call today, 1-844-843-7995, 1-844-843-7995, or visit us at ccnexus.global.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as a daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reef Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with cannabis and coffee with Marijuana. Then tune in and catch Pottawa with Russell Barth, who calls himself the world's angriest pothead. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Doukhobor. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gignac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
Celebrate Indigenous Awakening at Legacy 420's first outdoor music fest, August 11th on the Tyendinaga Mohawk territory.
This one's about rock and roll and comic books and bubblegum.
Featuring Headstones, DJ Shove, Derek Miller, and more, with host MC Howie Miller. Opening drum ceremony at 12 noon. Medicinal, food, and Indigenous vendors and artists. Free camping. Tickets $75 at legacy420.com. A 19 and over event. Indigenous Awakening, Saturday, August 11th on Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Take Highway 401, exit 556.
Sponsored by NIMCA and Legacy 420.
Man, have you been to Canna Days yet? Canna Days, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop at 19 Bridge Street West. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. Canna Days. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? Canna Days can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. 19 Bridge Street West, Campbellford. Canna Days. Have your say without saying a word. CannaDays.ca.
Hey, we're back. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show, and we are live here at lifestyleradio.net. We can also be found at Spreaker, Shoutcast, and TuneIn Radio. We're live at them as well. Today in the program, we're joined by our guest, Terry Parker Jr., and my joint host, Alicia Doukhobor. Well, Alicia, that first segment really filled us in on some of the stuff that Terry's been going over with surgeries and the fight in the courts and stuff when it comes to access to medical marijuana. Where are we going now?
Well, I would like to know how Terry controls his seizures with cannabis, what his regime is.
I don't have a regime. I basically go to a friend of a friend of a friend who's another friend, and I just have my puff here and there, and that's about it, tell you the truth. I prefer Kush, tell you the truth.
Huh. And so you just smoke cannabis.
Yeah, I find, a couple of joints a day keeps the seizure away.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Something they, yeah, really, eh? See,
That's old-fashioned.
having to do I guess when it comes to supply and stuff like that, you still, if you're into making any other product other than smoking cannabis, you'd have to have a real good supply. And as we mentioned, you don't even have a license, even though you've gone and won all these court battles.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
It's just, I just find it totally repugnant that I put all this work out there to get this stuff legalized, and yet there's so many obstacles that the government's thrown in our face. I mean, don't forget the Matt Murdoch case there a few years ago there. He put forth a constitutional challenge, and again, it all boils down to doctors don't want to be the gatekeeper. And it's beyond my comprehension why the government is trying to impose doctors being a gatekeeper when they don't want to be the gatekeeper. I mean, if they wanted to be a gatekeeper, they wouldn't have pulled out that stunt back in '79 when it comes to synthetic THC administered on the guise of being the real McCoy. I mean, the fraud within research, misrepresentation is deplorable, disgusting, and why didn't our regulators ask the doctors first, is there a problem in signing the paperwork for if people want to get marijuana to Health Canada? If they said, yes, there is a problem, then they'd have to work out another situation where doctors are excluded when it comes to access.
Well, so I guess in your opinion, though, doctors, like the credibility of them when it comes to major diseases as yours, how would you characterize that? How did they help you, or how did they hurt you?
Myself personally?
Yeah.
I can't see whether it did help me, to tell you the truth. I really don't. I mean, they fed me drugs when I was a kid that made the epilepsy worse rather than better. That gave them justification to impose their top secret surgical brain experiments. My mother was only informed of scar tissue removal as to treat epilepsy. Then after the operation, she's swearing at Harold Hoffman, "What the fuck are you, my kid, you son of a bitch?" And all you could tell is that he'll outgrow the epilepsy, which never did happen. I mean, we got parents being lied to. I can't say they helped me. It didn't help me come to the epilepsy. They made it worse. Then when I find a cure for it, did they have the integrity to correct it wrong and let's get Terry an exemption, let's make things better and all the rest of it? No. They put me through some bullshit research, and when it comes to paperwork for Health Canada, they're saying we want your brains first, then we'll give you your paperwork. Well, they can go kiss my ass on that one, big time.
And so even till this day, your doctor is saying that he or she wants to conduct another risky brain surgery before...
Not my doctor now. I have now. No, I haven't, to tell you the truth, because of my epilepsy, I haven't talked to a doctor since '92. I have a GP who just takes care of cold, but the last doctor I did talk to was at Sunnybrook, and he said, "Oh, no, we want to do more brain surgery." I said, no. But he wouldn't sign the paperwork. And then there were several doctors I've approached over the years on this, and they just will not, the neurologists and that will not sign the paperwork. And my GP does not sign any drugs for controlled substances or for narcotics.
Wow, that is just absurd. And so, in comparison, the side effects of the drugs that those doctors would prefer that you take, let's go there. What are we looking at in terms of side effects?
Side effects: Dilantin, cross-eyed vision, loss of appetite, insomnia, suicidal tendencies, and seizures. And a few more I can't remember. That's the top of my head, to tell you the truth. And with Dilantin, they sued me up that years ago as a kid. Dilantin, I was taking 4 milligrams a day, and all I felt during that time taking was having a seizure. I always felt, I'm going to fall down. It was this drug itself, Dilantin, that causes seizures. I didn't know this, yet they kept on prescribing it, and it wasn't getting better. It's getting worse. And it was until I discovered marijuana, and I eventually once I got the decision from the courts, I weaned off Dilantin, stuck the pot, and I've been okay since. But, it's just disgusting that they did not do their proper study back in '79. If they had done a proper study, there would be no need for a court case and all the rest of it. I could have got an exemption. But they're determined we're not going to allow you to have marijuana for medical necessity. So they exercise fraud and misrepresentation in research in order to express my right to access.
And so...
Go ahead, Alicia.
Oh, I was just going to say, so if you would have had access to cannabis when you were a kid instead of these drugs, do you think that your life would be different, or your epilepsy would be a new legalization model that the patients are going to be the ones who suffer ultimately the most because they're the ones who need it?
I would think so, yes, because there's just too many restrictions on it.
And in terms of, I guess, the beneficial viability of LP weed, in your opinion, when they're growing with cheap genetics and fertilizers and chemicals, etc., I mean, is it medicine, or is it just crap? You know, is it just Prairie Plant Systems 2.0?
So I'd be polite here. It's so therapeutic substance. I would suggest. Subtherapeutic, and that I don't think to be much appreciation for something like that.
Yeah, and so do you think that it could cause harm rather than, like Prairie Plant Systems, for instance, they're notoriously known for irradiating their bud. Do you think that has a big factor on the integrity of the medicine, or is it?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I don't like hearing reports that people are smoking the LP weed and they're developing disease or dying from it. There have been a few reports the past year or so. People who have been tits up over LP weed. I mean, like I think it's in the States, if I'm correct, across Canada. I'm not. I was reading. I recall reports for the past year of people having problems with the LP weed and dying from it.
And so I guess in terms of people who are sick and their doctors are telling them, hey, guess what, we're not going to prescribe you this medicine, we want you to take pills, what advice would you have for them?
Grow your own.
Oh. Okay.
Grow your own.
And that's just because you would know what's in it then? Is that, or is it cheaper?
Oh, it's cheaper, plus you know what you're getting. I mean...
Yeah.
I've lost all trust, to tell you the truth. I really have. I mean, with that study back in '79 tell me we're going to investigate marijuana for epilepsy, and I found afterwards we didn't investigate 1 friggin' gram? Come on.
Yeah. How do you study cannabis and not even study a gram?
They have no idea how that affected me for my whole life. When somebody said 9 weeks of bullshit, and we didn't investigate 1 gram yet. They expect me now today to come running with my arms open and, yeah, I need some marijuana. I can't trust them. Because last time I tried to trust them, I wasn't given a straight card. Instead of investigating marijuana, we investigated synthetic THC, which has no therapeutic value for treating epilepsy. Yet they misled my lawyer, Marlos Edwards, myself, to believe there was a thorough investigation, which is absolute bullshit.
Now, talking about investigations, have you tried to investigate this stuff over the years? Like, gotten a lawyer, taken them to court for, doing these unauthorized surgeries?
I've tried. I've been looking for that, but with the COVID operations I've been put through, I got a lot of lawyers telling me that we're concerned about the Statute of Limitations Act. They're forgetting that this is an ongoing assault. When I'm looking at continual episodes of cerebral hemorrhaging in the operative field and post-traumatic stress disorder, this is very ongoing. I mean, you got to remember back in the second operation, 72, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, "What the F are you doing?" during a local cranium incision. And like, I find out afterwards the operation was not even conducive for treatment condition. It was just a highly top secret experiment they were carrying out. No informed consent, no parental knowledge. I mean, it's difficult to have any faith or trust in medical profession when you're subjected to so much fraud, criminal assault and battery, intrusion, and lifetime harm. It's just very difficult to have any trust or faith in medical profession when they've screwed you over so bad for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so how do you overcome that, though?
That's impossible. That is totally impossible. Look at this issue. Look. I mean, what's going on in Toronto is no different than the situation in Quebec, where during the 50s you had over 100,000 dual-plea orphans subjected to unauthorized CIA, MKUltra, LSD experimentation, and lobotomy research. Those kids who died from lobotomy were secretly buried beside a pigsty in order to try to cover it up. And that's here in Canada, in Quebec. And they've got the same kind of situation at Sick Kids Hospital, Toronto. Parents told one thing, and then afterwards find something else was done without your consent. Yet the cops are sitting back doing nothing about it. The lawyers are worried with statute of limitations, and our politicians are too busy trying to keep this undercover, top secret, basically damage control we're looking at here, major damage control, secrecy and concealment on the whole issue. Well, I got a patient advocate tell me an ongoing problem. That is repugnant.
Has there been any try to form of any group to, bring others together that have been subject to this?
The problem is this, is that we have no educational forum for the other patients of Dr. Hoffman, Hendricks, and Henderson. I mean, all they were told was scar tissue removal, yet I guess they were given no reason to believe something else was committed without their knowledge or consent. It's due to all the secrecy and concealment of what's taken place. No parent can protect their child when there's no accountability or transparency what's secretly being carried out behind parents' backs and patients' backs.
And so what do you say to those parents who are against using cannabis for their children's seizures and kind of condemn or criticize other parents for using it?
What I tell them? A joint in front of me is better than unauthorized lobotomy.
Yeah.
Believe me, it is. I mean, brain surgery as medicine is absolute torture. It's criminal. It's unethical. It's totally immoral. I mean, if we're going to have any kind of real concern for our children, we should be do more research with the cannabinoids, such as a pablum or a cookie or whatever. We can get rid of cancer in children. Give them children's pablum with THC and the other cannabinoids. You can make up various formulations for children. Take care of all kinds of illnesses, epilepsy, cancer, cerebral palsy, including autism, don't forget. Including autism. I mean, parents should look at the lesser risk for their child. And brain surgery is a much greater risk and unnecessary. Because in most cases, it's just... Hello?
Hello, we're still here.
I said a beep there, okay.
Yep.
But I would suggest that parents look at the lesser risk, and the lesser risk is the cannabinoids. You there?
Yep.
Okay.
We're here. Yep. So like when they do these surgeries, for example, the surgery they did on you, and they're doing it without parental permission, how do they cover up the surgery? They come in one day and...
But it's just not, I mean, how is it we got protection for this group and this sex and this, that, and everything else, but we got no protection whatsoever when it comes to unwitting subjects of covert human experimentation. And it's long overdue for the government to give focus on this, provide advocacy, and amend any legislation that intervenes with justice for victims of crime. What Ford, if he had any kind of compassion, what he should be looking at is amending the Statute of Limitations Act for unwitting subjects like that in the States. Because if this assault took place down in the United States of America, there is no statute of limitation when it comes to an offense upon an unwitting subject. They had a few case back in the States years ago on that. But we need the same kind of legislation here in Canada, where if you're an unwitting subject of covert operation, the statute does not run.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that's what they're saying. Like, are they saying that there's something you should have? How long till basically you were no longer allowed to, sue them or go after them? Like, was there a statute of 10 years or 5 years? Or
I think it's 2 years, but I mean, how can you operate when you... I think it's 2 years after you make discovery, but how can you operate when you got so many people concerned with protecting the criminals of this matter rather than the victims? Yeah. I mean, you got to understand, I've been through a lot of damage control, concealment, secrecy, withholding medical records, obstruction of justice. I mean, yet I got a patient advocate for me ongoing problem. I mean, I know of another gentleman whose 10-year-old daughter got assaulted in 1991. I won't mention his name or anything.
No, that's
but
fine.
I know a 10-year-old girl, 1991, assaulted by the same doctor, Dr. Hoffman. And yet he can't go to a lawyer. He can't go to a cop. Nobody address illegal brain research at Sick Kids Hospital. Not the cops, the lawyers, the government. No, it was just this cloak of secrecy and this ongoing problem. And this is the main reason why I fought so hard for legalization of marijuana was for the children. Because back years ago, I thought to myself, there's got to be something better than brain surgery. When I came across marijuana, I said, damn it, I'm going to get on the wagon here. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to legalize this stuff so kids won't be screaming verbal profanities during a local cranium incision. That's why I was so gung-ho or adamant to get something legal, get marijuana legalized in the country so people don't have to fucking suffer.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You've been
People
right
language.
there. I've seen you at many of the rallies, man. That's for sure. Hey, Alicia, we got about 4 minutes till we go to a break.
Okay, so in your perfect world, what would the legalization of cannabis look like? I think you kind of alluded to that earlier, but but if you could have it your way, what would it look like? Private stores?
Repeal prohibition, allow farmers to grow any kind of strain they want, knock it down to $20 an ounce, and keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
And anyone who's I mean, mind you, I'd have some sort of restriction. If you're tampering with fentanyl or something like that, you go to jail for a long time.
Risky
Any
stuff.
kind of foreign adulteration cannabis, there would be penalties for that. But if you're just a farmer and you're growing some kush or you're growing whatever, you know, just I mean, let's replace paper with do what you want to do. Just go industrialize it. But just give us something that's going to be agreeable to all the consumers. Because unless you take care of the consumer demand, you're not going to make jack shit on taxes.
Now, if they repealed it and just allowed everybody to grow whatever, would we be running a situation where we have people who are growing thousands of plants, or
If we repeal it, I could see farmers growing acres of it for all kinds of industrial purposes, medical purposes, or whatever. Just make a complete industry.
Yeah.
And at the same time, by growing so much, they can lower the price. Instead of paying, from $100 to $400 an ounce, you could pay something like, say $20 to $50.
Well, like down in Colorado, they end up with a surplus, and the prices drop dramatically, big time.
Yep. So I think best bet is just let the free market take care of everybody, and as long as you're getting a 12% tax on it, what's the problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
Having restrictions, but if we can't have people want they want a freedom of choice. They want to get Kush, or they want to get Terry Parker, or they want to get George Norrie's weed or whatever. Okay. They want
choice. Strain out there named after you. I don't know about.
I don't know. I'm thinking there might be. You never know. But they got all these variations out there, and people like to have freedom of choice, and there should be no denial of that. Because you don't give them freedom of choice, you're not going to have anybody purchasing the substance.
Yeah, strain. If you're only limited to certain strains strains that are available to people, then people will go somewhere else. Like I see in some of these provinces where they're signing a contract with 1 or 2 LPs, but those LPs may not necessarily provide the strains that people are used to having access to, which in turn isn't going to make them go to the legal system. They're going to stay right where they are.
It's a good question, but I think if for everyone's interest, Ford and whoever else out there who's taking consultation on the whole issue should look at just freeing up empower the free market, let them do their thing, and hopefully everybody's satisfied and we met consumer demand.
Yeah, I think the Green Party sort of leans that way on things. So
there's potential there, but I don't know. Last time I remember the Green Party, they weren't. That was not a priority for them for some reason.
Yeah,
that was years ago, but
yeah, because a lot of people talk about legalization is a big topic, and they were a party for years that went at legalization or said that they would legalize cannabis, but the cannabis community didn't seem to gyrate towards them, as it seemed like when the Liberals said that they were going to legalize it, and all of a sudden there was went from third place party to a majority government, right?
Yeah.
So now, whether it's because maybe the Green Party's chances of actually winning an election are a lot slimmer than the majority, than the I'm going to say the big name parties, right? The conservative Liberals. I don't know.
I would think the Green Party, if they were to take on the black entangled issues, they might get a lead in the polls that way. But it'd be nice to have some sort of party to address the black entangled problems we have in our society, and provide real representation rather than this cloak of secrecy and everything that's harming people across the country.
Right, that's right. Okay, we're going to go for a break. Okay, and we'll be back shortly. Tonight our bumper music is Ill Scarlet and the song Justice. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with our guest, Terry Parker Jr. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at LifestyleRadio.net.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
And the rise above the evil. The poor keep getting stronger, and the rich can't feed the younger.
Man, have you been to Canna Days yet? Canna Days, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop at 19 Bridge Street West. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. Canna Days. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? Canna Days can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. 19 Bridge Street West, Campbellford. Canna Days. Have your say without saying a word. Cannadays.ca.
Hi, this is Al Graham of the Pace Radio Show. Are you keeping pace, as in keeping people advocating cannabis education? If you're not, and you're a cannabis consumer, then why not? Others are working hard every day to help educate people about cannabis so you can enjoy your daily 420. Get involved and speak out. Be loud and proud so that you can keep pace. Tune into the Pace Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear about people advocating cannabis education here on LifestyleRadio.ca.
In 2017, the Canadian government announced that although recreational cannabis would be federally legal, its distribution and sale would be determined by individual provinces. Later that fall, the province of Ontario announced its proposed legal framework, that a subsidiary of the LCBO be the sole proprietor of cannabis in our province, essentially creating a one-party monopoly. This government-controlled monopoly could result in longer wait times, supply issues, and insufficient experience due to lack of proper consultation with the pre-existing industry. The provincial government believes this framework will restrict access to children and help eliminate the black market, but this proposed action will only push illicit suppliers further underground. Meanwhile, over the past 2 decades, there's been a growing industry of intelligent, savvy, and responsible cannabis entrepreneurs who have been working hard to provide access and education around the medicinal, therapeutic, and recreational uses of cannabis. We are Sensible Ontario. We're not new, but we're excited to meet you. Visit our website now and donate to become a part of Making Sense.
If you'd like to learn more about Sensible Ontario, go to sensibleontario.ca.
Celebrate Indigenous Awakening at Legacy 420's first outdoor music fest, August 11th on the Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. Featuring Headstones, DJ Shub, Murray Porter, and more, with host MC Howie Miller. Opening drum ceremony at 12 noon. Medicinal, food, and Indigenous vendors and artists. Free camping. Tickets $75 at legacy420.com. A 19 and over event. Indigenous Awakening, Saturday, August 11th on Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. Take Highway 401, exit 556.
Sponsored by NIMCA and Legacy 420.
Canada, the time to act is now. These days, your customers are seeking variety. Increase your earning potential by expanding your inventory with CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. CC Nexus stocks over 60 reputable breeders, including Canuck seeds, with a wealth of autoflower, regular, feminized, and CBD strains. All first-time customers will receive a free pack of Canuck seeds, plus a mug, t-shirt, and additional promotional materials. Add strains and increase your profit with CC Nexus, your Canadian-owned and operated wholesaler of cannabis seeds. Discreet, worldwide stealth shipping from Canada, supporting you locally. Call today, 1-844-843-7995, 1-844-843-7995, or visit us at ccnexus.global.
Been fighting for justice for cannabis and for people who are having surgeries that are not supposed to be happening. So let's see. If you like their music, you can find them online.
And I believe on 60,000 something like that. But that funding was able to get Valerie Corral up from the United States from California. She's one of the first Americans to have marijuana recognized for treating epilepsy. And she gave evidence how it's affected her and how they got, they're giving marijuana pablum to babies down in the States to control the epilepsy and what have you. They also said if you, Dr. John Morgan, I believe he gave evidence, he's the author of Marijuana Myths, Marijuana Facts.
Yeah.
We had Ed Morgan, who is the attorney for the Epilepsy Association. He gave evidence on how people with epilepsy should have all availability of all access to anticonvulsant remedies for medication, what have you. And that's how we were able to accomplish the Constitution Challenge here in Toronto.
Was Lynn Zimmer involved in that as well?
Pardon?
No. Lynn Zimmer. She was a doctor. The reason I'm asking that is because I have the book Marijuana Myths and Marijuana Facts right here in front of me with John P. Morgan's name on the front. And I see another doctor helped him, so I just wondered if she was involved.
Yeah, it's the same book. Yeah, he's the one that gave evidence in my case back in '97.
Oh. Yeah.
Him and Lynn Zimmer, I believe her name is Lynn Zimmer.
Yes, yeah, correct. Yeah, she's a co-author in the book. Yes.
Yeah. So they both gave evidence in my case back in '97.
Nice. It's good to see when you see doctors get involved in things like that. So who are some of the people, who have supported you through this? Like,
well,
drug alliance people, like, Alicia asked, covered your court case, and to get an organization like that out of the U.S. to be involved in something in Canada. That's good.
After the decision from the Interior Court of Appeal, I tried to comply. I couldn't, so I went to court with John Tamel. He was able to get me an extension of my constitutional decision with Justice Pitt. That got appealed by the Crown, and the Crown was misled by a certain individual in the court to believe that she had jurisdiction over Pitt, when in fact it took 3 judges to overrule Pitt, not one. And as a result of that misrepresentation, I lost my constitutional protection, and I've been vulnerable ever since. When doctors don't want to go along with the Gateway program and all the rest of it, so I've tried, been in court like a yo-yo fight again, and no doctor, no script, and so I'd just rather take the risk and go to my friend of a friend who's another friend, and get my necessity that way. But I think it's just disgraceful that we don't have a system set up where you just go to the store, get what you need, go home, and take care.
Well, will legalization that the federal government has sort of planned now, will that allow people, because you can get up to an ounce, right? Would that, in the end, would that help some of those people on the fringe?
But I'm correct, aren't they restricting the cannabinoid levels?
I know recently there was a news conference last week held by Health Canada officials, and that was asked if they were going to cap THC levels, and they said no, because they realized that people will just stay to the black market. If they restrict THC to 15%, people are going to go elsewhere, just like we discussed earlier. That was announced last week, but I know there's been stories about them possibly doing that. They've been out there for months. So, but there was an announcement.
Something else they want to do is they want to have it specially chemicalized so they can track you. Correct?
Yeah, there's to do with they want to be able to track it from seed to sale. So it has to do with something to do with the genetics.
Yeah, I think with the system they want to present, there's not leaving much choice for the consumer, and without that, they're not going to have a very positive situation come out of it.
Alicia?
So what's your opinion on this whole CBD movement? Do you think that there's merit to it?
Myself, I'm not one to be an advocate for synthesizing any cannabinoid from marijuana and then let's try and make a zillion bucks, because CBD and THC all work together. They complement each other in the natural marijuana plant, right? To isolate either one and then administer, to me, it's risky and fraught with risk. I think it'd be better off if you're going to administer cannabis, you administer the straight good, the bud. You can make your cookies out of it. You can make your tea or your shakes, whatever you want to do with it, or stick in your a-hole. That's okay with me as well. But as long as you have all the cannabinoids, which are the synergy, takes care of everything. Could be cancer, MS, CP, and all the rest of it. But you need that synergy of all the cannabinoids, not isolate. You start isolating, then you're looking at a lot of risk factors, and that should not be imposed upon nobody.
Yeah, we hear that. We hear that a lot. The synergy and everything's got to be there, and if something's missing, it's sort of like if you take your radiator out of your car, the car doesn't quite work as well, does it? You can move the car, but it ain't going to last forever.
I just don't think it's fair to bastardize cannabis for profit, and while doing so, you're putting a lot of people at risk. That is not ethical, moral. It's just not consumer friendly. If you're going to represent, if any politician's going to represent marijuana consumer or cannabis consumer, I should say, in this country, then you got to go with what they want, not what you want to put out. Because if you don't go by consumer demand, then you'll have no appreciation for any kind of regulation.
Now, I don't know, Alicia, you got a question in there? I just don't want you. We only got 2 minutes left, so I don't want to take away all your remaining minutes with my question.
I guess I just have one kind of, maybe you answered this, but so if you were to be questioned by the police, would you be arrested, or are you exempt, or how does that work?
I just don't give them no reason to arrest me.
Yes.
I just don't. No. I think that I'm familiar with a lot of cops in Toronto, what have you, and they realize that that I've had a lot of issues with the medical professional, the rest of it, and I don't think arresting Terry Parker for a couple of joints on the priority list right now.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
You see, but it's a low priority with the cops and simple possession. To tell you the truth, I'm not worried about that. But I also I got no problem with the cops when it comes to marijuana. It's just that the long possession and blowing smoke on a cop's face not going to bother me.
That's a good feeling, though, to know that you're kind of, I guess, relatively protected when it comes to possession and your rights. But in the same regard, too, like you could be put in a really nasty situation if you were facing jail time with your disability, correct?
That's correct.
And so the government hasn't really offered you anything to kind of protect you?
Nothing so far.
Yeah, they didn't offer up a Section 56. You know, after winning this big court battle, you know, they don't offer him anything like that, so he can continue on his life. They still make you apply in the system. And when you go to something like that and fight in the court, you know, those are things that, you know, you don't get healed. You've got epilepsy for your life, and you know, cannabis is something that makes your life better, improves your quality of life.
But let's not forget another thing, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to anti-rejection, marijuana is number one for anti-rejection of body organs.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm also, over the years, I've been questioning, since I've been discovered with this left temporal lobe on my medical records, if what the marijuana is doing for me is helping with the anti-rejection of a foreign organ on my person. That being the left temporal lobe I'm referring to.
Yeah, and then that way you're not rejecting it.
They say marijuana is great for as anti-rejection for organ transplants. It could be heart, liver, kidney, whatever. Marijuana is great for organ transplants as an anti-rejection substance.
Oh, see, even we learn something new every day, Alicia.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I haven't heard. I haven't heard that. That's
so
good.
I also question if not only epilepsy I've been suffering as a kid, but also since the operations, when there's been increased variation in seizure disorder. There's been a lot of weird stuff over the years since those operations, and it's just a shame I can't get no disclosure or investigation as to what took place by means of deception and fraud. But I do question if the pot's been effective, helped me survive when it comes to acting as an anti-rejection substance.
Neat.
Oh boy, yeah, it's quite you've had quite the story there, Terry. You know, going through all these operations, going through these court battles. You were probably fighting in the courts for half a dozen years or more.
46 years, something like that.
46 years. Well, I missed that by 40.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And this is just all for access to medical cannabis and fighting the courts.
Oh yeah, it's just been a nightmare to access to cannabis, to tell you the truth, for myself personally speaking. It's just, and I imagine for other people it's been a nightmare where they haven't survived their condition or whatever because of prohibition. Prohibition's got to go. We have to repeal our marijuana laws. We have to develop a more caring society, because right now it's out of this world how we got more protection for animals and experimentation than we have for humans experimentation. That's deplorable.
That's not good. That's not good.
And somehow our leaders, either provincially, municipal, and federal, they got to stand up, recognize that, we got a problem here. I mean, not too long ago on the 5th estate, Trudeau was asked about MK Ultra, not Trudeau, I should say, but there's a lawyer in Montreal asked about MK Ultra projects in Canada and whether or not, what the Canadian participation, should the government look into it. And I believe it was David Stein in Montreal, who's attorney for the MK Ultra victims in Montreal, agreed that that's long overdue for the Canadian government to look to their part with MK Ultra research in Canada. And I have no doubt the sick kids at the top of the list when it comes to MK Ultra covert activity, and sponsored by the Canadian government and provincial government.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
But we need a more caring government, because it's just ridiculous how. Hello?
Hello? Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still here. You're still here.
Okay, I said a beep there, but I mean, it's just repugnant how back in 1980 there, nurses in Dallas was charged for 36 deaths regarding digoxin overdose. What the first question comes to mind, how come no one addressed the issue of digoxin research with 36 babies when they didn't know lethal overdose back then, the early 1980s? See, there's not just my situation. There are other issues going on with sick kids, and I imagine that sick kids, other institutes across Ontario and across Canada, they're not being focused on, or they're not being addressed. And it's long overdue for the government to address all these covert operations, sick kids, Toronto General, or where else they're carrying it out, and get a full inquiry happening, get a full investigation. They had it in Scotland with the Holyrood inquiry. We need our own Holyrood inquiry here in Canada when it comes to protection of human subjects.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know how you're going to be able to get something like that. I know we mentioned it earlier.
Well, if there's anybody out there whose relative, child or whatever, has brain surgery at sick kids hospital past 50 years, and afterwards they die from the seizures or there's been complications, they may want to question if their child has been assaulted such as myself. Make some more inquiries and all the rest of it, and look at taking some sort of action, any kind of hidden research upon their child. Because I didn't know nothing until I started digging. And people out there were able to give me some insights what happened. I did my research and bingo, oh wow, a lot of crazy things going on by means of fraud and misrepresentation. But if there's parents out there whose children or relatives, brother, sister, or whatever, have been affected over the years when it comes to epilepsy brain surgery, and they feel there's further questions involved, have them contact me, and I'll do what I can for them.
Good. And I guess how can they get a hold of it?
If you go to the Wi-Files .net, mkultra4.htm, you can, or just put Terry Parker Jr. on your search engine and go to several websites with the Wi-Files, with Facebook. And if you go to Facebook, Terry Parker Jr., I got my medical records there. I got the pathology report. I got the X-ray and all the rest of it. I got the disclosure up there. People can review it there, and they can respond to Facebook or at Terry Parker Jr. at simpatico.ca.
Okay, and have you got a shout-out that you'd like to throw, highlight, promote, thank, anything along that line?
I'm not going to think of it right now. If there's people out there who've had issue with sick kids when it comes to epilepsy brain surgery, and it's been successful, and there remains a few questions, I welcome people to come forward and contact me, and I'd welcome to find out how many other people out there who've been affected myself and not aware of it. And the problem is there's no education, there's no educational forum on these kind of issues, and I'd like to thank you guys for hashing this out so that we can educate the people what's going on out there, and hopefully they can make light of what's happened to anyone they're close to and take action on this violation.
Yeah.
But it's just incredible that we got so much abuse going on in our medical facilities with particularly children. That's just disgusting, and this got to change. I'm hoping that Doug Ford and other responsible leaders in this country will look at this issue and address somehow. Amend the Statute of Limitations Act, call a criminal investigation, inquiry, let's get on the bottom of things, and let's put a halt to this hidden child abuse in Ontario and across Canada. Because if we're going to really take care of our kids, we have to forsake what's happened in the past, forget the BS we've had with the treatment, get rid of these goddamn forced vaccinations. That's no good either. Mm-hmm. And we got to look at more cannabinoid research with their children and give them some proper treatment. But I know that for a fact that kids should not be deprived of cannabinoids when it's the lesser evil of ripping your brains out or the chemical research and all the rest of it. I mean, we got too many Nuremberg Code violations in this country that has to stop. And hopefully by calling upon a criminal investigation, inquiry, amend the Statute of Limitations Act, provide justice to victim crime, not hamper it by withholding medical records and using the Statute of Limitations Act to conceal further abuse. That's just not right.
No, it's not. Well, we give you an opportunity. That's what the Pace Radio show here is, to give patients a voice. And that's what we've done tonight. Just give you an opportunity to speak up. And hopefully some people who have been through this can connect with you. All right. Hey, Alicia, have you got a shout-out?
I do. I would just like to send a shout-out to Best Buds in Saskatoon. They've got some really cool swag lately, so that impresses me. And
I saw you post those T-shirts.
And I'd also like to send a shout-out to Terry for coming on and sharing his story, because when we highlight the experiences of others, others learn and they can share their experiences as well. And perhaps we can shine some light so that we can stop this atrocious behavior of people who have epilepsy. So thank you so much. And also to Al and Al, thank you so much for all that you do for the radio show.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm sure Al says the same thing. He's too bad. He's too busy with his Shatterizer, which I forgot mine at home. Yeah, okay. All right, this is a reminder to let everybody know that we'll be back next Wednesday with the joint host Kim Cooper. And her guest is Tim Barnhart of Legacy 420. He will be here to talk to us about not only Legacy 420, but also an event that they're hosting. It's called Indigenous Awakening, and you can hear the commercials during our break on what's going on there, and he's going to explain it in more detail next week. You can find us, the Pace Radio Show, on Facebook. We're also on Twitter at Pace Radio. We can also be found on the web as pace-online.ca, and of course, we're on Instagram as well. Thank yous as always to our sponsors, the friendly and helpful folks at CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. They can be found at ccnexus.global. The Canna Days for here in Campbellford for giving us a spot to help educate the public. As always, the man with the Shatterizer and the baggie in his hand, Al Rapp, our producer. And thank you to you, Terry. We appreciate you coming on to the program here and sharing your story with our listeners.
You're very welcome, sir. And don't forget, the very word secrecy, repugnant, free and open society, sir.
That's it. Yeah. And also thank you to you, Alicia, for everything you do for the program. I really appreciate it.
Aw, thanks, Al.
Hey, if we could, we give hugs for the phone line, right?
Yeah.
And, so one of these days we'll have to get together. We'll have to come out there. You'll have to come here. So, also, as well, I always have to thank our listeners for tuning in the program. We always appreciate them for doing that. Without them, they are part of our award-winning program here at the Pace Radio Show. Thanks you.
Thanks for everything.
And good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.